Hello everyone and welcome, it's Shanna. Now I'm excited. Today I'm going to bring to you a fun fold. This fun fold, I actually saw the card from Leslie Turner. She's on the Love from Lizi team and she does a blog. And she has a blog that's Love to Scrap too. Anyway, I got this from her. You want to make sure this panel is 5.5 by 7 inches that you start out with. So I've got a panel here that is actually 11 by 7, so I'm going to cut it at 5.5 by 7, and this is going to give me 2 of those at that size. So it's going to be 5.5 by 7 on both of these. So this is our card base, and I'm just showing you that it's bigger than 6. It's actually 7. And for the actual card base, you are going to take and score it on the left side at 1 3/8. So I'm just finding my 3/8 on my score buddy, 1 3/8, and then I'm going to go ahead and score it at 2 3/4. And those are going to be your score marks. And then you are going to fold it like this, and this is what your card base is going to look like. So this is a Z fold, and you've created, your little Z fold there. So you can see that. So this is my card base, and then I've cut another one exactly like it because this is going to be my card base layer strips that I'm going to use. And I know that they need to be the same 7-inch width that my other panel is. And then I'm going to have, I think I wind up having an inch left over. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut 3 wider strips that are going to be 1 inch by 7 inch. So we already know my panel's 7 inches because I cut it just like I did the other. And so I've got a 1 inch, and I'm just going to cut 2 more of those 1 inch strips. So that I have 3 of those. And this is some heavier cardstock, so you've got a nice card base, and then you've got your strips. And I'm using Love from Lizi. This is the pink that was included in my Let's Celebrate kit. In fact, all the materials here are from the Let's Celebrate kit. That is the January kit for Love from Lizi. And then I'm just going to get my, I've got my 3 strips. Now I'm going to cut 2 narrow strips, and these are going to be 3/4 by 7. So you're just doing 3/4 by 7, and you only need 2 of these strips. And so they're a little bit narrower than the other ones. And you only need 2. And so this is going to leave about a 1 inch strip left of that cardstock that we're not going to use. So we've got all of our strips, and now we're going to bring that score buddy back in, and we're going to score all 5 of these strips just like we scored the card base. We're going to score at 1 3/8 and 2 3/4 on all 5 pieces. And I'm just leaving this real time and allowing you to just follow along as I go. And that way, hopefully it'll be easy to pick up. I don't know if you guys have made these before. This is the first time I've made this card, and it is super fun, and I think it turns out really cute in the end, so I'm pleased to be bringing this to my channel today. So 1 3/8 and 2 3/4. We're scoring the wider ones and then the narrower ones in the exact same spot. As you can imagine, they're going to just follow along similarly to how we did the card base. Only they're going to go, the folds are going to go in the opposite direction that the card base folds. And I think I score these, and I fold them, and I need to fold them the other way is what I do. But, we'll fix it. It's no big deal. So now I've got my base panels, my base strips for my decorative pattern paper that I'm going to put on there. So I'm just folding these and They're actually going to be folded in the opposite direction, but you'll see that. And so I'll get my Score Buddy out of the way, and we're going to work with our pattern papers here. I've got 3 different patterns that I'm going to be using, and I've got a piece of white cardstock. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the background panel for the inside of my card base, and I am going to cut it down to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 is what I'm going to cut it down by. And of course, if you want, you could do the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but I'm doing the 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. You can do your layering any way that you want to. This is just what I'm following. And so this will lay on the inside of it, and we're just going to lay it down like that. Having a little trouble with my glue press again. So you'll be seeing me bring the pen in and out. You think it could remain unclogged for just a few minutes while I'm doing something, but it just keeps clogging up. So now we're going to get this pattern paper laid down on there. We'll make a nice little frame around it. And we've got the inside of this Z-fold strip card we're making. So now I'm just going to look at my pattern paper that I've got and decide how I'm going to adorn the outer edge there. And then I realized that I had the strip that I cut off of the base there, and I'll bring it in and actually cut it down to go on that. So we know that that was scored at 1 3/8. So we need to bring in a strip of paper at 1 1/4 by 5 3/8, I believe is what I need. So we'll get that trimmed up, and then we'll get it laid down here on the card base, and we're just going to make a nice little framed edge around it, and I think it'll look really pretty on there. And then we're going to need another piece for the inside of our flap there. And so I'm going to just look and decide what paper I'm going to use for that. I think I actually cut my strips for the other pieces and then go back to it, just so that I have all the right size pieces for my strips before I go and fill that back in. So we'll just get this pattern paper laid down on there. And this is really, I love this kit. It's just so much fun. It is just so festive and colorful and happy. I love it. So it's a great thing to work with in the winter when it's gray and dreary out. So I'm just going to lay that aside, and I'm going to work on these strips because I want to get the paper cut for the strips and then just use whatever is left over to fill in that inside portion, because you won't see a lot of that anyway. So I'm going to work on my strips. So I've got this kind of a speckled confetti looking paper, and then I've got like a feathery paper, and then we have the stripe paper is what we use. So I'm going to use the speckled confetti paper for the larger strips, and these are the strips that are going to go on those 1 by 7 inch strips that we cut. So we're actually going to cut these strips at 7/8 by 4 1/8. Actually, I'm going to cut them by 7/8 by 7, and then I'm going to cut it down. I thought it was easier to just take that 7-inch strip and then cut it down to fit in my on my panels there, instead of cutting it individually. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm taking the other pattern, that feathery pattern, and I am cutting it at 5/8. So it's going to be a narrow strip, and it will layer on my 3/4 by 7 strip that's laying there. So the 5/8 strip is going to layer on the 3/4, the smaller 3/4 strip. And I'll talk you through the measurements when we go to assemble them, just so that we can make sure we get it right. So I'm just cutting 2 of those so that we'll have that. And I really took my time with it to try and get the measurements correct. And then we've got this piece here that is left over. And this is where I'm going to figure out what I want to put on this. So I'm just double checking the measurement on it. And this one should actually be cut just as the one on the front was. So it is 1 1/4 by 5 3/8 again is what you're going to cut it. And then you'll put it on the ends, kind of that middle flap there, the pink that's showing, it's going to go on there. And so I'm cutting it down to 5 3/8 now. And then we'll just lay that in there like that. And we'll have our base decorated on our card. And this is a fun way to really use some pattern papers. I really like it. I think it looks super cute. So we've got that all decorated up, and we've got our Z-fold, and we've got our back piece. I've got the back panel here, and I'm just going to cut it down to where we have a nice little frame around it as well. So this back panel should be cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then we'll just have that little frame around it. So this panel didn't look like it was square when I laid it on there, so I was glad that it was too big anyway, and I needed to cut it down. So we're just going to get it cut down to 4 by 5 1/4, and then that will be the piece that is going to go on the back of our card. So I'm just making sure that's going to work. So I'm just getting all of my cutting done now for the assembly. Now I did cut those decorative strips to 7 inches, and I actually need to cut them down to where I can layer them up on the card. So I know that I have got I've got a 7-inch strip there, and I need to cut it down to where I can layer it on each bend of the card. So I'm actually cutting it down to 7/8 by 4 1/8. I already did the 7/8 on all of them. Now I'm cutting them down to 4 1/8, and I'm keeping what's falling off of there because that, I cut that strip the exact same size as the pink, so I should have, the right size to lay down on that panel. So this is where I'm folding it in the correct direction so that I can lay it down on my panel. So I know that I've got all these folded the way that I shouldn't. And I'm going to get them layered up with their appropriate pattern paper. I'm going to lay these out like they're going to lay on the card base, and that way I get my colors laid down right. We're going to go wide, narrow, wide, narrow, wide is what we're going to do. And I'm going to get them all laid down on here, and we'll get our pattern paper and we'll get it laid down. So we have the narrow strips that are 5/8 by 4 1/8, and then we have the wider strips that are 7/8 by 4 1/8, and we're going to lay those down on there, and we'll get those glued down. And one of my strips looked like it was like I had cut it wrong, so I'm checking my measurement, and I'm actually going to trim them up because I think I must have cut it a little bit wider than what I needed. So I'm just going back to my trimmer and just trimming that little smidge off where maybe I got a hair off when I was lining it up. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other ones. So these are the narrow ones. Sometimes when you're dealing in, 8s and 16ths and stuff like that, you can get off a little bit of a hair if you're not careful watching it or whatever. So I'm just going to trim that up, and then those will be good to go. And we'll get those laid down on there. So I'm just going to throw some glue down there, and we're just going to line these up on here, and they'll have a nice little frame around each of our pattern paper. And then we've got a narrow strip. And then we'll go on to the wide, the narrow, and then the wide, and we'll have all 5 of those ready to go. So I hope everyone had a wonderful Merry Christmas. We did. We had the girls, we actually had to do them at different times. We had 2 different celebrations with the girls, and then on Christmas evening, we really didn't have anything all day and really hadn't planned to do anything. But our youngest daughter had called and said, "Hey, we're having steaks and twice baked potatoes and salad and hors d'oeuvres and everything." And she said, "Why don't you guys just come over and hang out with us and play some games?" So we wound up Christmas evening going over to their house and doing that, and it was really nice. We had a good time. We played some games. We ate way too much food, and then did that. So that was nice. And then today's pretty mellow again. I don't have the grands, so it's pretty quiet. I'm just trying to get some stuff done. We actually had the internet provider come in today, and they upgraded some things, and we've got to get some. We're going to get some new equipment too as well. We're going to do that in a little bit, and tested all of our signals and everything, and the things that they replaced, and we're going to get some new equipment, and I think we're going to be in good shape with our internet. So I'm glad for that, because it's kind of been a thorn in my side. So I've got all these laid down here, and we're ready to start assembling these. And I'm kind of eyeballing at how I want to do that. And I've actually got to decorate these pieces. And in theory, you should be able to cut these in half, and they should give you the right dimension on there. It's actually the same size as the panel, so I should just be able to cut them in half. Now I'm cutting these 2 down because if you remember the strips, I cut them down because they were a little bit wide, so I wanted to cut these down as well so that they would match the strips that I cut down for the narrow ones, because I was just off the smidge on these 2. And then I'm going to cut these pieces in half, and then we'll lay them down on those other panels there. Now I am going to speed up this portion of the video because I'm just going to cut these strips in half, and we're going to glue them down on those strips, and then we will be ready to start assembling the rest of our card. So we'll just get this going, and then we'll come back and assemble the card. Okay, so now we're ready to get our strips attached to our card. We're going to start off with the widest one and put it clear up to the top, and we're just going to get it glued down. Now for this, we're just going to put a little bit of glue in the upper left-hand corner, and then on the other panel on the upper right-hand corner, and just glue the ends of these strips down. So if I can get my glue press to give me some glue, we're going to get going on this. So I'll just get this, and I'm going to line it right up with the corner, top corner of the card base, and then open it. I'm going to pinch it together, get it time to get a good hold on there, and then we'll bend it, and we're going to pinch that one to the upper corner of the other panel, just like that. And we're going to do this 5 times. I'm going to start with the actual top, and then we'll go to the bottom, and and then the middle, and that way we'll kind of work our way in. Now I've got a glass mat here that has magnetic, and I've got my little magnet there, and I've set it on there to hold that to where it will dry. It did move on me, so I'm going to actually just plop that thing right on the center of it and just let it hold down. These magnets come in handy for this type of thing. Now for this, I'm going to go straight to the bottom, and I'm going to go clear down to the bottom edge, and I'm going to glue it down just like I did the top. And I'm doing that so that I can center these things out nicely between the 5 strips that I've got. So I thought if I started at the top and then I started at the bottom, then I went to the bottom, then I could go to the center, and then I would put the 2 thinner pieces in between the center and the top and the center and the bottom. So that's what I'm going to do here, and we'll just get them lined up nice and neat. You can use clamps or paper clips or whatever you got. I'm going to use these magnets, and I think I will wind up bringing in some clamps for the top side that's not laying there on my glass. It's raised. So here's my middle piece, and for this I'm just eyeballing it. If you're a perfectionist, you can get your ruler out and you can put your ruler in there and do your measuring or whatever. I'm just using my eye to do this, and I'm just going to get it laid down on there, just kind of eyeball it, and then we'll do the same on the base part of our card. And this is wanting to move around on me, so I think I do run and grab and get one of my clips and clip it down, and that way I can just move on with my getting my bottom piece laid down. So I've got these little Dollar Tree clips, and I'm just going to clean off the junk that's on there, and I'm going to clip it on there, and then I can just go ahead and glue this down, and we'll have it ready to go. And this is super fun. I could see you could actually do this with just the 3 strips if you wanted to. It's really fun with the 5, but I mean, if you wanted to do like a variation, kind of looks like a capital E there. And then I'll bring in that other magnet and just hold it down. And then we're going to do the smaller strips, and then we'll just be able to position them similarly between, our middle strips and our bottom and our top strips. I think I'm still struggling with that glue press, so I'm having to use a pin about every time I go to use it. So I'm going to get this one lined up in there and try to get, leave equal amounts above and below it. I'm just going to move that clamp. I have more clamps. I could have brought them in, but I thought it had probably sit there long enough that it was good and adhered. So we'll just line that up with the edge of our paper and make sure we've got that space nicely on there, and press down. I'm moving the magnets that have been sitting there for a minute, and I'm giving it a good press, and then we'll put the magnet on this one, and then we should be able to do the last thin strip and get it laid down on there. Just try to eyeball it again and get it where I want it, and I'm just going to move that clamp. The other one should be good and glued by now. And then we'll do the same thing here. And we have got a really, really fun fold card. Let me know in the description box below if you've made this one before or not. I had not, and I thought it would be super fun. So I just sat down today and thought, I'm going to make it. And so that's what I did. Anyway, so it's getting glued up. Now I've got my back piece here, and I'm just going to move this out of the way and actually put that on there, and it's holding all of them down. That's a new tool I got. It's a magnetic ruler there, and I thought it was super cute, and I just laid that on there just to hold them all down while I'm fooling around with this card base here. So I've got this white panel that is going to be our place where we put our message and sign our name on our card, and I want to bring in something to decorate it a little bit. So I'm just going to take a strip of our patterned paper, and I'm going to just cut it down to 3 3/4 inch by, I think I do 1 inch on this, and we'll just have a little decorative element that we'll add to this little panel for the back of our card. So we've got this confetti sprinkle looking paper, and I'm just going to just glue it down to the top of this, and we'll have just a nice little addition of color to the back of the card. And we've got a nice little frame around there. And then I need to bring in some decorative elements, so I'm going to do that as well. And if you've watched my other videos, I have worked with this kit before, so there are some really fun elements. I'd already stamped out and heat embossed some of the sentiments, and then these wine glasses or champagne glasses. And so I'm just going to use what I already had prepared, and I've got happiest of birthdays, and I've also got wishing you the most joy, and I think the best day are all the sentiments that are stamped and embossed there. And I'm going to use the happiest of birthdays for the back of my card. So I'm cutting it down so that I can put it on this panel that we've laid that pattern paper down on. Just getting it cut down. And we'll just lay that on this confetti paper, and I think it'll look really pretty when you flip it over and you have that on the back, and then you can write your little message and sign your name to it, and you'll have a great birthday card for someone. I'm not sure who I'm going to use this for, but I'm looking forward to presenting it to someone. So I've got that laid down on there. And I thought I would go ahead and put this on the back of my card before I go ahead and decorate the front of my card. So we'll just flip this over and we'll get it laid down on the back of the card, and that's basically what it's going to look like. So I'll give my glue press another squeeze and struggle with it again, and we'll just get it laid down on there and lined up nice. There we go. So now we're just ready to decorate the front of the card. And if you remember, we had, in addition to that stamp set, we also had several different ephemera pieces. We had the banners, and we had some floral elements and the birthday pieces and stuff. And so I thought this would be a good place for a banner. So I'm just kind of eyeballing everything and trying to decide, you know, what exactly I want to put on here. But I've decided this balloon kind of banner would be really cute on there. And so I'm just going to add it to the front of this card. And I think it looks really pretty. It looks very nice with the pattern papers that I've selected. And it is very interesting on here. So for this, I'm just going to put some glue in some different spots on here, because we've got, you know, those gaps in there where in between the layers or the strips, and I don't want to get glue in there so that I glue my card shut. So we'll just be careful with the glue, and then we'll get it laid down on our strips, and I think this is super fun. I actually put some glue on the tips, and I can see those are hanging over the edge there, but I don't get into trouble with that, so it works out all right. Just trying to clean up the glue. I've got glue on my fingers. I'm just trying to get it off my card so that it looks nice and clean. And I think it's fun. I really think it's a fun element. I like kind of the feathers that are hanging down off of the balloons. This, I said earlier, this kit kind of has some boho vibes to it, and I love boho. Some of my craft room decor is boho, and I really like it. So I had a lot of fun with this. So now I am bringing in the stamp set, and I'm going to bring back in, you know, I cut the happiest of birthdays away from there. Now I'm going to cut out the most joy and the wishing you the, and it's going to say wishing you the most joy. And I've just got a little edge on that guillotine, and I'm kind of struggling with getting it lined up how I want it, and getting my fingers out of the way, and we'll get it trimmed down. And we're going to put the wishing you up on this top strip, and then we'll put the most joy on the next strip down, and we'll kind of offset it a little bit, and I think it'll look really cute. So I'll just trim it down, and then we'll get these 2 sentiments glued down on our card base, and that'll pretty much finish up our card. I don't wind up adding any extra embellishment because there's just a lot going on with this card with the strips and everything, and I really just don't think you need it. So we've got wishing you the most joy and then happiest of birthdays on the back of it, and I think it makes for a great card. I wanted to trim the top of that wishing you the down a little bit, and then we'll get it laid down on there. I'm not even going to pop it up. I'm just going to lay it down on there with some glue, and that'll finish up our card. So I hope you have enjoyed watching this, and you can replay it or slow it down if you want to get all the measurements and everything, or you can kind of go rogue and just choose your own measurements. So I'll get the most joy laid down on there, and then that will finish up our card. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. Just giving it a good press. Just kind of cleaning up my area, and we'll just take a little closer look at it. I think it looks super cute. Very fun card. So thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you have a happy new year. Take care. Bye-bye now.